Usually bunny hoppers stick to the rule that there cannot be too much speed, but sometimes there are situations where you cannot do without slowing down. Maybe you happen to get in this situation where you were flying through the map on huge speed and then you came across a seemingly simple obstacle, but you could not get over it. Hello everyone, it's Ling, and today we will talk about braking, difficult situations and how to get out of them, and also about some other useful things. Well, braking. Most often I would certainly advise you to pick up more speed and just skip the obstacle or to route it instead of slowing down, but sometimes it happens that you need to take control of your speed in a very narrow corridor, and very often in such narrow corridors, staying to the side of the blocks can be too difficult, as these sections require slowing down without losing speed too much. And also the map could be done in such a way that you just cannot go above or below a certain limit of speed, otherwise you'll fail. But what can you do if you're already above the limit? There is one technique that, if used properly, can help you slow down without losing too much speed. In narrow corridors, for example, yes, there is often nowhere to stay at the side, but there is some place to strafe in between blocks, so if you have too much speed, try moving your mouse a little faster than the perfect strafe speed, which will make you lose speed while measuring the distance to the block with your eye to land exactly where you want. As soon as you have slowed down enough, reach the block and restore the speed with your regular strafing, because the main thing is that you need enough speed to reach the next block. By mastering this braking technique, the narrow sections in high-tier maps will become a little easier. This is the first technique, braking with the help of fast strafing. The second technique is the use of a wall next to you for braking. This is a pretty unsafe technique, and I would advise using it only in routes. It is executed by directing the camera towards the wall at an indirect angle, and either you need to hold down the strafe button that is opposite to the wall, or simply release the strafe button, which is not advised. This technique is used in situations where there is little time and you need to use a lot of free space for your next strafe. The great use of this technique is shown in the video bhop 2018 from a player under the name of Roger in his bhop waterfall run, timecode 2423 and 2449, link in the description below. That would be it with braking, but we're not done with the walls yet. Let's talk about difficult obstacles and how to get around them. There are situations when a long block is placed against the wall and there is almost no space for gaining speed, but the speed is still needed. For example, as in the second stage of bhop null. In order to gain speed in such situation, try to get in the middle of this block and point your mouse to one of the far sides of this block. Make one long strafe directed to the opposite side, then repeat this process until you have enough speed, then make the jump. If you are in a situation where the blocks are small and you are near a wall, the idea is about the same. Do not look towards the wall and accelerate with the use of one strafe. This should help. The next situation is a combination of windows. The problem with windows is there are several steps that have to be followed in order to pass them, without which it can be quite a difficult task. The first step is to gain enough speed, which is preferably not too high. The second is the process of approaching the window properly. Approaching the window should be somewhat parallel and not perpendicular as initially expected. Moreover, it should be calculated in such a way that when you're getting close to the window, you should also be very close to landing height-wise, as the step number 3 is passing through the window. This requires a sharp turn in the direction of the window, setting the camera perpendicular until you hit the floor and leave the airspace of this window. If you don't put the camera perpendicularly, you risk hitting your head against the ceiling and falling down. The fourth stage, is a U-turn. Usually it is made in the same direction from which you initially flew towards the first window. How much you fly until you turn depends on the speed you have. This is usually different on every map, so test it. And when you're turning around, the last 3 stages repeat themselves until you go through all the windows. Again, approach, look parallel, get off the ground, and make a U-turn. There is an obstacle that is similar in structure with windows, but with a different algorithm. These are the sections and blocks with a low ceiling above them with a jump after. The main difference between them and the windows is a large area covered with a ceiling. Such obstacles are difficult because they play with your jump timing muscle memory, forcing you to relearn it and react to blocks faster than usual. First, you need to get onto the ceiling into this obstacles territory. The idea is the same as the windows. So you stay parallel to it until the moment when you are almost on the ground, then you move your camera towards it and you get in. Now, there are two options. The first is improvisation with a focus on hitting the blocks. In this case, you have to spend a lot of time to learn the timing of how to hit these blocks and jump away from them. It feels as if you have just started bhopping for the first time, you know. The second option is to route this place, focusing more on when and where to direct the camera rather than just which blocks to jump on. The problem of both methods is at the very end of the obstacle. You'll be expected to leave the ceiling area there, which is not an easy task with or without a route. If you choose improvisation, you need to catch the exact moment when you push off from the edge and don't hit the ceiling, while if you're routing, it's pretty much the same thing, but you just know the angles and which speed you should be having at the end. So, yeah. Talking about the next one, pretty often we can see the use of ladders on bhop maps, and just as often we see map makers requiring you to make a ladder jump, strafing off a ladder onto a block. This is not really my area of expertise, so I would recommend finding a video of KZ experts, but I can at least tell you that when you're on the ladder, if you place your camera parallel to the ladder itself and look up, then hold W and a strafe key that is closer to the ladder and you'll climb it faster. The next one is pretty original, invisible blocks with hints showing their location above them. When people do these, they usually forget one thing. These are just regular blocks, they are just invisible. Use the same improvisation rules, most importantly, stay to the side. Not many enjoy routing these, so this will definitely help. Put your camera up and just start jumping like you always do by using improv rules. No looking at the blocks in a straight line, okay? Well, that would be it. I would also like to mention jump cancelling, a technique that allows you to reduce the time of a jump by ending it earlier and start the next jump right after if there is a small difference in height between the blocks. The technique is quite useful for routes and is used at levels with low height stairs. It is executed in a non-crouch state, so make a jump before the elevated block, head towards it, and when you're above it, let go of control, and as soon as you push off the ground, fly towards the next block while holding control. Then just repeat the cycle. Let's talk about control separately, it's quite a useful key. You might have already noticed that it's quite easier to jump when you're jumping in a crouch state. There is a reason for it. Not many know this, but when you're jumping while holding control at the same time, you're also going higher than in a non-crouch state, though usually people think it's the other way around. Also, you're closer to the ground when you're holding control, which kinda makes navigating a bit easier. And also, you already know that if you're not holding control and you jump and hold it afterwards, you're gonna fly further. If we look a bit deeper into it, there are some situations when, for example, imagine you're in the middle of a jump, crouched. You can reach any point of a block you're going towards both with and without holding control. But despite being able to reach this block, there is no way you can reach the one after it. You'll just overshoot and the first one if you try. So in this case, you should try letting go of control and land on the edge of the block that is furthest away, the edge that being. This way your next jump can be a few units further if you hold control again before landing. The last thing we will talk about in this video are ramps. And in this one, we'll mostly talk about those that are inclined at 45 degrees or lower, meaning they cannot be surfed on automatically. In my previous videos, I've already mentioned that if you jump looking perpendicularly away from an inclined surface, you can gain speed this way. But it is not the only property. If you have enough speed, and enough in this case is usually a lot, land parallel to the ramp and then sharply turn towards the top of the ramp. Instead of making another jump, the ramp will let you surf on it, which in some cases can prove to be quite a useful thing. Though the lower is the incline of the ramp, the more speed you will need to start surfing. And that's where we end the advanced series. In the next part for experts, we will discuss a lot of theory, techniques, and information that will be useful for beginning Bunnyhop speedrunners. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.